morning, everybody. Chef from Riding Free. Welcome back. If you are a returning viewer, and welcome if it's your first time stopping by. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend some time with me while we're out riding and motovlogging. So, in today's vlog, I want to talk about something that always interests me when I talk to other riders. I want to find out what your bucket list rides are and kind of where some of your best rides, because one thing is for sure, in the motorcycle community we always talk about where our favorite rides are, where the good riding is, and other people want to go ride that stuff. So I'm going to start with bucket list stuff for me. And if you guys have bucket list ideas, please put them in the comments below so we know where it is that you want to ride. Maybe somebody can share their story about riding that area and just encourage you to go ride that area that much more. So, probably my top bucket list ride is I want to go to Sturgis. I've been riding for a long time and I've never been. So I really want to go, and I want to be able to take the time and ride out there so I can say that I rode all the way to Sturgis. But I've heard the riding out there is just absolutely amazing, so I want to experience that riding out there. Now, I've been to other bike rallies, been to Daytona, some smaller rallies here and there, always had a good time. Like going to Daytona, the best part about going to Daytona was riding with my friends and enjoying the ride. But definitely want to ride to Sturgis. Never experienced it before, so I want to be able to do that. One of my other big bucket lists, which some people may think it's cheesy because it's not the same anymore, but I would love to ride Route 66 from start to finish, starting in Illinois, riding out to California. I grew up in a period of time where, you know, driving was still a big deal. My grandpa used to take us for rides on Sundays for nothing more than just going for a ride. So I would really love to ride Route 66 just for the nostalgic fact of it. And like I said, I know it's not the same as it was in the heyday, but I would like to ride it just to say that I rode it. Some other smaller bucket list rides, still definitely things I want to do, but not at the top of that scale. Definitely love to ride the Ozarks. I've heard the riding out there is awesome. Just talked to a guy at the shop the other day who just got back and said it was probably one of the best riding experiences that he's ever had, was riding out there in the Ozarks, riding pig trail. So definitely want to do that. And I would really like to take some time and ride up the coast in California. Just, you know, ride up like the Pacific Coast Highway. Riding next to the water would be pretty awesome. So those are some of my list rides that I really want to do, and hopefully someday we'll get to do those. That's why a lot of people refer to them as bucket list rides, because something you got to do before you kick the old bucket. So definitely got to go to Sturgis. Definitely got to ride Route 66, and secondarily ride the Ozarks and ride Pacific Coast Highway. So I could double up when I ride Route 66 and be able to ride up the coast in California at the same time. So that would be pretty awesome. And then of course I could always double up and ride to Sturgis, and on the way home ride through the Ozarks on my way back to Georgia. So have some ideas. Hopefully sooner or later we'll get to accomplish those. So like I said, leave a comment down below. What are some of your bucket list rides that you definitely want to go on before you can't ride anymore? It'd be interesting to know what's on your list. Now, as far as best rides that I've been on, and I've ridden in some really nice areas, but probably some of the best rides, like my top favorite rides, I would have to say it's kind of a toss-up, but I would have to say riding through the Smoky Mountain National Forest Park was a great ride. I love riding through there, and I'm actually planning on going up there not too long from now to visit my mom, be camping in the area, so thinking about riding up there for a day. And if I do, I'll take you guys along with me for the ride so that you can definitely see the beauty of that national park. But as you come from the south and are going to like the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area, you cut through Cherokee, North Carolina, which is an Indian town, which is cool by itself because you're cutting through the Indian reservation, so you get to see some neat stuff through there. And then you immediately come into the national park, and one of the cool things is when you get there on the south side, there's a big sign that says wildlife present, and there's usually elk present in the field. Now, the first time I rode through there, I didn't see any elk standing in the field, but the second time I went through there was midday, and there was a ton of elk in the trees getting some shade at the entrance of the park. Mrs. Chef was actually on the back of my bike and commenting on how big the deer were, and I explained to her those were elk. So she had never seen an elk before, and I'd never seen one really up close in person before. So magnificently big creatures, but it was great to be able to see that and experience that. When you go through the Smoky Mountain National Park, it starts out from the south end, just some nice sweeping corners. There's a creek that runs along the right side of it, and there's plenty of places for you to pull off on the right and the left. There's a cave that you can go explore. Just absolutely beautiful. And then as you progress into the national park, the riding does get a little more complex as you're in and out of the mountain area. Obviously you gain some more altitude, and at one point you're just so close to the mountain rock on the side of you, it's like you can reach out and touch the mountain. Super cool. And then there's like a little tunnel for an overpass. You actually kind of wind around yourself on there, so it's just a great ride. It's beautiful. Now, as you get to the north end of the park towards Gatlinburg, it does get a little traffic congested as there's more people up that way, and the traffic waiting to get into Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge is a little thicker. So depending on the day and time that you go through there, it could be kind of messy, but it is definitely well worth the ride up there. My other top ride that I really enjoy, and like I said, it's a toss-up between Smoky Mountains and going to Key West. Two different types of rides, two different atmospheres, and it's just a beautiful ride. So years ago we went to Daytona Bike Week, and our big plan was to go to Key West for a couple of days because we had never been down there. I would definitely encourage lots of sunblock if you are heading down there. We put SPF 100 on when we left Peterson's Harley-Davidson in the South Miami area, and by the time that we got into Key Largo, we really didn't think we would need to put more on. And by the time we got to Key West, which was a few-hour trip down the Key area, we were lobsters by the time we got there. So definitely sunblock up. That is definitely a tip that I would strongly encourage. But riding down through the Keys is just absolutely gorgeous. When we went down, it was very sunny. It was in the 80s in March, and as you go through the Keys, there are just a ton of places to be able to stop to. Bars, restaurants, definitely get some fresh seafood on the way down there. All sorts of shops with beach trinkets and decorative stuff for the house. But the riding was just so beautiful, so fun, especially when you get to the 7 Mile Bridge. Was my favorite part. The bridge is literally 7 miles long. It's a 2-lane bridge out over the water. It just doesn't get more peaceful and tranquil than that, because it's the bridge in the water as far as you can see while you're out there. But it was beautiful in the 80s, had the music playing on the motorcycle, and definitely enjoyed that bridge trip out there. We stayed out in Key West for a couple of days, had a lot of fun, especially if you partake in the adult beverage area. Definitely a good time down there. Really enjoyed stopping by the Hog's Breath because I know a lot of people have been there, so I wanted to go there to say I've been there. Really loved Sloppy Joe's. Lots of fun, especially when you have good friends with you when you're down there. Just makes that trip so much better. Coming back out of the Keys, though, was rather interesting because the night before we left, we actually had a big rainstorm that came through, and there was a lot of wind coming back out of the Keys, and coming back across the 7 Mile Bridge was a lot more interesting with the wind just blowing across. It's almost as if we were riding sideways, and every time the wind would kind of pause down for a second, it would catch you off guard. So a little more interesting ride on the way home, but we still enjoyed the ride and the company we're with, so that was great. Other great rides that I have enjoyed and strongly would encourage is if you get the chance to ride the Gauntlet, which is in North Georgia in the mountains. It is very similar to the Dragon. I've never ridden the Dragon, so I guess that's kind of a ride that I want to do too. I've just heard that it's just been, so busy and so many people ripping up and down through there on sport bikes and cars that it almost is troublesome at times. But the Gauntlet in North Georgia is very similar, less traffic from what I hear, but the riding is awesome as you are going up and down Blood Mountain. It is super awesome. You gain altitude as you come into the mountains, and as you're arriving there, you have some nice sweeper corners, nice and gentle riding, beautiful nature landscape. Then as you get into the mountains, it becomes super fun because you have a lot of left and right, uphill, downhill turns, some pretty good switchbacks where you're turning back on yourself. So it's a lot of fun. And as you come out of the mountains onto the north side, you get back into some nice sweeping corners, turns, and you really pop out by a town called Blairsville, and they have a motorcycle resort up there called the Copperhead Lodge, and that is a fun place to stay. It is geared towards motorcyclists. They have motorcycle garages, cabins that you can rent with different configurations with a hot tub and that kind of stuff. They also do have some hotel rooms in the bottom of the lodge, and they do have a bunkhouse. So if you're traveling alone and just need a place to crash with a shower and stuff, you can stay at the bunkhouse. They have a restaurant and a bar there at the lodge, and the food is great. The drinks were relatively inexpensive, and they had live music on the weekends. A lot of fun. There's also a town up there called Helen, which is a small German-themed town, but it's in the mountains. The atmosphere and location where it's at is half the fun, especially getting to Helen. The riding is Just it's super. And there's a lot of roads that go from Helen back up to Blairsville to the motorcycle resort. If you're staying there, you can definitely take a day trip down to Helen. The routes that we took probably were about an hour or a little more riding from the motorcycle resort to Helen. But, and it's really not that far. It just takes you that long because you're riding through the mountains, doing a lot of twisties, turns, uphills, downhills. It's just a blast. So guys, comment down below where your bucket list rides are, and post up there some of where your favorite rides are, so that way we know what good places are out there to ride. I would always take the word of somebody who's been out somewhere than just some general information out on the internet, simply because I trust a rider's perspective on what that ride's like, how fun it was, what the roads were like, fun things to do in that area. So guys, that will do it for today's vlog. Just wanted to share some of my favorite rides and my bucket list rides with you, and hopefully you will share some stuff with us, and that way we can check some of those rides out. As always, if you have not, please hit the like and subscribe button. Do me a favor, helping to get this channel growing. I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out for a few minutes, taking that time out of your day. It definitely means a lot to me, and it does not go unnoticed. You are appreciated. As always, while you're out there riding and having fun in your life, don't forget to thank somebody who allows us to be out riding free, because that's the only way we can be out here riding, is riding free. Until next time guys, be safe, and we'll see you soon.